print of the tracker. I'm going to start providing those every month. Does anybody have one? Okay. Yeah, I printed it out for you. Okay, the May 2nd, 2023 meeting of the West Haven ARPA Committee will now come to order. Will each member, paid professional, and city official state your name for the record? Ken Carney, Chair ARPA.
Dwight Knowles, Secretary.
Ken Ferris.
Dave Rudberg, Harvey Torrance, Sandak and Hennessy, Council Committee.
Gary Perdo.
Iris Diaz.
Rohan Smith.
Okay, each member received a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting. You'll find it on pages 1 through 4. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda? If none, the agenda stands. The chair will now ask the clerk, why don't we...
Motion to,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to omit the reading of the minutes
Waive the
tonight.
minute?
Waive the
Okay.
minutes.
Minutes are on pages 5 to 10. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. With the
Also,
record, Jim.
Can we mention your name when you're making a motion or second that? Thank you.
Okay, we're on Chairman's Report. We have with us tonight Ernie, the sidewalk inspector. He'll help us navigate some of these invoices we're going to approve. We also have the fire department and the library here tonight to talk about their goals with their ARPA money. I can tell you that we have made some good strides in the last 4 weeks. We've met with several architects on the various projects that I'll explain in detail as I go through this tonight, and they are moving full steam ahead on design. I also want to once again stress how great the city is doing, issuing POs and getting contracts signed. Something that used to take 4 or 5 months is now happening in less than 2 weeks. When it comes to POs, I have evidence where I send an email to get a PO for Gisela, and that later that day I get the PO. Okay, it's been unbelievable service, and that's helping us spend this money. I want to go through the updated spending plan. So if you open up this chart here, and the supporting data is in your booklet. Let's see what I have here. All right, the first I have on pages 12 through 17, I've got a Carmody invoice in the amount of $19,695.60. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second. Ken Ferris.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Next, we go pages 18 through 32, and you will find a UHY advisor's invoice. I want to make you aware that I was able to negotiate a $50,000 credit from UHY. That was directly related to $100,000 in expenditures prior to the new UHY team coming on. I felt there was duplication in work. They agreed. They gave me $50,000. So today they're asking for pages 18 through 32, $76,329.69. Do I have a motion to approve? Garrett, do I have a second?
I second. Iris Diaz.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, I have Jow Films, page 33. You'll find his invoice, and he is asking for $250. He's a gentleman who records our meetings for us live. Do I have a motion to approve?
I, Rohan Smith, made the motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Ken Ferris.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next we have Parks. I'm going to ask Ernie to come to the podium. Ernie, we're going to start on page 34. This is Ernie's report. I want to point out how hard this guy works, how little he's paid, and what a great service he does for the city. He is scouring the parks, which there are many. He is opening up parks that have been closed for decades. He is fixing parks that have been in disrepair for well over 10 years. Ernie, we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
So with that, our first invoice can be page
53.
53. Hold on. Well, before we go there, any questions on his report? I think I'm missing a fence at Swampscott Park.
I got it.
All right.
I mean, I got the invoice in front of me.
Do I have it in the book here? Hold
That's page 53.
on. No, that's, you're right, it is 53. My apologies. Okay. So, I have an invoice here, number 2989. I'm sorry, PO number 2989, invoice number 12878. Frank's and Fence, $1,565. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a
Motion.
motion.
Okay, Iris is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I have on page 53, or 54, I guess, right? Hold on,
59.
59. I've got an invoice from Franks and Fence for the Horseshoe Area Walkgate, Veterans Park. Invoice number 12877. PO number 2975 for $592. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second, sir.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I've got Platt Avenue Guardrail, Franks and Fence again. And that one, and by the way, you have pictures in your book here that back up the invoice. That one is on page 64. And this is for Platt Avenue Guardrail work. Invoice number 12905, PO number 3227 for $3,190. Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do you have a second? Gary? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any actually, I forgot discussion. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
The Platt Avenue, that, what reason, why would they put a guardrail there?
That's a new park that we opened up. It's called Narrow Point Park now.
What is the service?
The guardrail is between the parking lot and the street.
Go to
It's
page
to-
69.
I've
It's to
seen,
define the opening for entering and exit onto the state road.
okay, that's not gonna turn into a parking lot for the people across the street, is it?
It shouldn't. I mean, can they park there? After hours, at sunset, they can't. They have to move out because that's the time the park's closed.
And what kind of a park is it?
It's a passive park, just trails. There's a lot of history behind it. Leo Kelly could get into that a little more often, a little more detail. But it's a passive park it's been there for years. We've owned it, the city's owned it for 20 years. It was handed over to us by the state. Nothing was done to it until we
Yeah, it was
started
a
working.
dumping ground.
Never knew about it.
It's a dumping ground?
It was a dumping
Oh,
ground.
it was. Well, it isn't now, and we're gonna make sure it doesn't turn into that.
Any other discussion? Go ahead, Iris.
Are you planning to clean up the trees in there? Because I see a lot of trees falling in the back.
Yes,
and
well, we
debris and
cleaned up
everything.
the pathway going through there. There are some trees that are leaning that we have to take care of to make it safe for people walking through there, yeah. We
And
still have to do.
when will that happen?
Well, we're hoping within, I would say, the next month or so. We have to, obviously, put it out to bid and get some prices on doing that, but yeah, we're gonna be doing that. We've done that in all the parks,
What's the proposed cost of that, cleaning it all up?
Well, it depends on how much work, because we have to go through it and see how many trees have to be, worked on. I mean, it could be $2,000, it could be $5,000, it depends. Last year, before ARPA came about, I spent $10,000 on the Swampscott, not Ocala, because that wasn't kept up, and there was like 10 trees that were just leaning. So it depends on the number of trees and the number
Can
of
there
work.
be a cap on the amount of money spent there?
Well, better than that, when he brings a proposal for us, we'll decide if we want to spend it.
Right.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do we get a second on that?
I noticed we are doing a lot of investment in these parks, right?
Yes.
And I know the ARPA fund is contributing to this, but I guess what I would like to know is how are these gonna be sustained beyond ARPA fund?
So that is a question for the city. I can tell you this, we've got $1 million to spend to clean these parks. We hope that the city will maintain them when our monies are spent. I can't guarantee that. That has to come from the city.
Right.
And if we don't spend the $1 million, we have to give it back to the feds. So we are spending the $1 million as the council directed to get these parks open and cleaned up. Everything's gone out to bid, everything's met the ARPA rules, and he's doing a great job doing it, but there is going to be some additional funds to maintain these things.
My concern is the same as yours. We're doing a lot of work on these parks, and I hopefully, after we're done, they stay maintained, and that's gonna be up to the administration.
Now, I'll tell you that unlike previous years, there has been some community buy-in where he's gone to the community. I actually did a few myself. You knock on doors, what would you guys like to see here? And people living near these parks have bought into the idea of help maintaining them, in some cases.
Leo Kelly has, he calls them tree tenders, and they've helped out at Shingle Hill Park just last week. And they've gone through and they cleaned up the park itself, and they're gonna be doing that on a regular basis. So he has a group together that's gonna be working on that's, such thing.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we go to Franks and Fence for $34.90, and I guess it's on page 70? This is 100 Plainfield Ave. This is a guardrail. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, on page 77, I've got Franks and Fence for $26.40.
78.
77, I think, right?
I have 78. Page 78.
I got page 77.
77.
This is the horseshoe.
This is a gate toward the back of the horseshoe pit that wasn't there, that's going to be leading out to the new area that I'm turning into a area for picnicking. There's one opening toward the front of it, and this is going to be a gate for the back portion of it.
Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Okay, Rohan will be the second. Any discussion?
I second.
Iris seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have Veterans Memorial sign, Captain Thomas Boulevard, from Signlight for $1,482. And that can be found on page 84, I believe. This was to replace a sign that was damaged. Do you have a motion to approve Signlight invoice number 15621 for $1,482?
If you look in the back, you'll see a picture of it. It's on the medium
Page 87.
as you turn off Washington onto Captain Thomas.
Do you have a motion to approve?
Oh, that's fine.
Ken Ferris, Rohan second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I got Narrow Point Park sign, Signlight again for $13.75, page 88. Do you have a motion to approve? Invoice number 15613.
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Rohan, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I've got Brentwood Park Asphalt, Layden Industries, that's on page 94. And this is for $7,680, invoice number 18596. Do you have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, Iris.
Okay, do you have a second?
Gary.
Gary, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, I've got Shingle Hill Stump Choppers. This is Shingle Hill Park stump removal, invoice number 3192 for $450. I believe that's on page 107. Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Hold on, what page are we on here on this one?
That's not page one oh
No,
seven.
I don't
107
have
is
it.
an invoice.
Go back, gotta go back, hold on.
What's 105? Is that the stone?
105?
We're getting closer. Page 102.
Or 102?
You have it.
Oh, yeah, there it is, yeah,
Before you yell out, you don't have it. You mind if you look around a little more?
No, I'm
Go to
sorry.
Page 102.
yeah.
$450. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Next, we move to Brentwood Park Concrete Pavers, Ivy League Landscaping, $529.10. If you remember, they were providing the pavers and the community volunteers were installing them.
Beautification Committee.
And there's a picture of that on page 111. And the invoice is on page 107. $529.10, invoice number 104775. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Do you have a second?
I second.
Excellent. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I have Old Grove Concrete Boards, Dottie and Son Concrete Products. This was a delivery of a product. This should be on page 112.
It's the cornhole.
113 is the actual invoice. And these are cement cornhole boards. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, Iris.
Do you have a second?
Ken, second, Ken.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next, I've got 278 Washington Avenue. We have a major flooding situation there. And I'm not so sure this should be under parks. We
No,
have to move
I was
this.
going to question that myself.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move this to drainage. We'll consider it now, but it'll go under drainage work. They had 3 little slits in the road over a culvert. A couple paper cups would clog the thing. Cerulli, who has the contract to put in storm basins, installed 3 storm basins for $10,305 and cleaned that right up. Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Dwight.
Do you have a second?
I second, Iris.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll move that to storm drain when I write the letter to finance. Okay, I think we're done with you.
How about any more information about the Foxman projects requiring ARPA committee approval, those?
Which ones?
Just go right below.
Oh, I see, okay, we can move on. All right, so now we're in part of the agenda, where we're gonna approve projects, and Ernie will answer questions and discussion. First, I have boardwalk benches, page 122. And this is for $2,145 from Classic Drywall. And this is to repair the benches?
Repair 13 of the benches, but I'm going to put this on hold right now. We're reviewing the project overall.
So don't ask for a vote tonight.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on hold. We'll table that.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
On these, in the committee approving category, do we want the approvals or do we want to hold them until the invoices are approved?
No,
I've got
I-
approvals drafted.
Yeah, I think when we have the opportunity for the committee to approve ahead of time, because he hasn't done the work on these yet.
So have people sign off or no?
No, with the invoices, I'm sorry, with the
Okay,
invoices.
got
yeah.
it. So
Yeah, the threshold for the MARB requirement is when the invoice is approved.
Let me ask you a question
Yes,
about
sir.
that. If I want to go ahead in the next 2 weeks to go forward with that project, can I do that? And then, because I already have a PO?
Yeah, for smaller projects, I can have the committee email,
Okay, Okay.
not a problem.
thank you.
All right, moving on, Oak Street Guardrail. This is a $12,775 ask from Frankson Fence, page 124. What do you got on this one?
This one is, if you look at page 125, it shows the picture of the fence that is there now. It's a round rail type fence. It's rotting. I've replaced several sections on it over time. It's not safe, someone's leaned against it and it went over, and I'd like to replace it with the wooden guardrail, both for it being stronger to support and also just aesthetics.
Good.
This is wood,
Wood,
and you said replace it with a wooden guardrail?
the wooden type guardrail. This is a fence.
Okay.
It'd be a pressure-treated large timber.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, do we have a motion to approve this project?
Make a motion, Ferris?
Second? Gary, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have Oak Street Post and Chain for Farmers Market, Frankston Fence, $730. Page number 127. What do we got?
This is just to close off an area of the parking lot in the Old Grove Park, where we're gonna set up food trucks, and the night before, we're gonna have one of our people close it down to limit anybody from parking in that area. That's all it is.
Permanent fence?
No. The chain type fence. That's just, we're gonna raise and lower the chain on it, just with two
Oh, okay.
stanchions on both sides. That's all.
Got it.
$730. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve,
Second.
Dwight.
I second, Iris.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we got Dog and Park Dig Out, 1,600 from Ivy League. What do you got there? Page
And
128.
this goes along with the one further down that says the dog park grit. It's basically one and the same project, but two different costs. The dog park has been an issue for the last 4 years since I put it in, with it getting, the grass being worn out and it getting very muddy. I've tried several times with different type of grasses to see if it'll hold up, and it's not. So what I'd like to do with this is dig out a portion of it, about 4 inches, and then have this grit put down, which is a combination of stone dust and small stone, to fill that area in to try to alleviate this problem with the mud situation with the dogs.
All right, so we're following the city purchasing ordinance,
Yes,
and I cannot allow a project broken up to be under $2,500. Right, the combined, it's a $4,057 job that has to follow.
but it's coming from 2 different vendors.
I've got,
You have Ivy League doing the actual physical dig out.
okay, 2 different companies with 2 different UI numbers, okay,
Correct.
all right, I'll allow that. Ivy League Landscaping in the amount of $1,600, Dog Park Dig Out, do I have a motion to approve? Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
How big are the areas that dig out in comparison to the park? Where you-
It's about, maybe about a third or a little less than a half. We're not doing the whole area, we're just doing this one area that gets the most wear and tear. And it's
Yeah.
only in the big dog park side, not in the small dog park side.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we got Contact Park, Ivy League Landscaping, that was to do a berm we want to do?
Correct. That one is the first one, Contact Drive Park, is the labor for the planting. The berm is right below it. This berm was installed to direct the water into a storm drain that runs along the side of the park. And then the next phase of that was the
The landscaping.
landscaping
So
portion
we
of
have
it.
5 houses being flooded over there. It's right in the park. We've extended the berm to stop the flooding. We have to stabilize the berm. These 2 companies can make that happen. The
Correct.
first one is Ivy League Landscaping for $1,260 for the installation of the berm. That's estimate number 9194. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll do, Rohan, you'll be the second. Any discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That one's, you can move ahead on that one. Next, we've got the drainage burn extension, Ivy League Landscaping for $1,855. Is this the, wait a minute now.
Wait a minute, now, the drainage berm extension is the actual labor to install the berm.
Okay,
The one above that is the labor for planting,
okay, reverse them, okay.
right, the
understood.
shrubs, and the Contact Drive Park on the bottom is the actual shrubs that were bought to install.
All right, so you've got,
It's 3 phases.
all right, so you've got estimate 9193 for $1,855. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve,
Do I have a-
Iris.
do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we got the dog park grit, which we already discussed, for $2,457. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Dwight.
Second?
Second.
Ken?
Sure.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're back to Contact Park. What's this for 1650, page 133?
No, that's the 1650 is the actual shrubs that were bought. You had, this is in three phases. You had the berm install, you had the planting of the shrubs, and then the purchase of the shrubs. So the berm, the purchase of the shrubs, and the installation of the shrubs.
All right, do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
I second, Iris.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we've got, the last one is Veteran Park for $975 for painting. And that's on page A1, actually,
Wait a minute, where?
which is just before 134. And what do you got there?
Wait a minute, I lost you.
Go to page 134 and go back one page. $975 to line all parking spaces, including handicap spaces,
Oh,
basketball
that's,
court,
yes,
dog
I'm sorry,
park,
that's the
horseshoe.
parking lot at Veterans Memorial Field, the parking lot that's in front of the dog park, and also the horseshoe pits and the new playground. Restriping it.
Do you have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve. Iris.
Second?
Dwight, second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, I think you're done.
How about the Parks Fund completed projects for committee approval?
Where are you?
I'm on, skip over to the next page. There's no page number.
I gotta bring the fire department up next.
Okay,
I'll have you come back.
okay.
All right, so what I want to do now is I want to go down to the fire department, which is on the agenda, item 14, 15, 16. We're specifically going to talk about Allentown tonight and the library. So if the people representing the library and the Allentown Fire District could just state your name for the record? And say it slowly, he's got to put you in the minutes. Go ahead.
Michael Esposito, Deputy Chief, for the North Bay Fire Department.
Should we come up to the mic?
Yeah, someone's got to come up here. Pass this down.
John Galvin, President of VIA.
I'm sorry, say it again.
John Galvin, Galvin, President of the Village Improvement Association, and also Colleen Bailey, the Library Director, Baillie.
Okay, so, we have $1 million, $1,025,000 in the bucket of money for the Allentown Fire District. And we have $1 million proposed but not yet approved by the council for the library. The interest between the two parties is to construct a facility on Route 1 that they can both share. It'll be a library and a firehouse. They want to use ARPA funds to do that. UHY has told us that that is allowable, okay? So tonight is their first ask. I'm gonna have them come up here, tell us how much money you want, what you wanna do with it. The committee will ask questions, we'll take it from there. Go ahead. Who wants to come up? Don't everybody rush up here at the same time, you get hurt. And the booklet I just handed out explains everything in detail. Go ahead, sir, I'm sorry. Hello, Michael.
Hi, how are you?
Good, sir, how are you?
Commissioner?
All right, tell us what you got. You're thinking of spending $100,000 for?
Are we doing the joint thing first?
Yeah,
or-
yeah. When you say the joint thing first, what's the other thing?
What we talked about, minor park, the addition?
The 300,000?
Yeah.
We don't have to approve that tonight. Once we get the specs on that, we'll approve that one. I'll mention that, though, at some point. Go ahead.
Together, we'd like to propose building a joint facility, nicknamed the Fibrary. It's a combined firehouse library facility. The library has half the property currently. We're looking to acquire the other half through city foreclosure, because we'll need the whole 2-acre parcel that it sits on.
If you go on
There's
page
a-
2 of the handout, you'll see an outline of the property.
There is a private entity who owns 1 residence and 1 additional lot we would have to acquire also.
Right.
At this time, we're looking for $100,000 for a Phase 1 and Phase 2 design. We've used an architect for a few years now on the firehouse side, and his specialty is public safety buildings. We met with Olivia Basante, the
Yep, great.
grant writer, on April 20th. She has a Juliet Burkowski, I think, who works for her. And she suggested just a bunch of steps to do. We weren't sure the next phase, and
Sure.
Juliet talked with our guy, Bob Mitchell, and he kind of gave us an outline of what we have to do to proceed
All
with
right.
the next steps.
I've got a path forward for you, but before I talk about it, what questions do we have from the committee? Anybody?
I'm looking at this, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ryan.
How will this impact the residents? This new, building that you're trying to construct?
Well, I mean, doing a library in that community is gonna be transformational. There was a library in Allentown here until 2020. It'd been there for 40-plus years. You figure it's the most populous area of the city. It's also has the highest poverty rate. And having that library in that area, we're gonna be able to provide digital access to people in the community who maybe don't always have it. You figure there's literacy. We're gonna be able to have school visits, which we used to have previously at the Pantino branch. We're going to be able to bring back all of those services back to that area. And by having the fire department right there as well, there's also that safety feature that a lot of people also sometimes are concerned about, so they're gonna be right there as well. We're gonna have a larger community space than we previously had in our older branch, and that's one of those things that people have really been asking for more and more, about seeing more community space. We don't have enough for the 2 branches we have. The other 2 library branches are also too small for the community of our size, so by having that 3rd branch in that area, we're going to be able to provide those services to the people in that community, in the Allentown area. And I know the fire department has also been looking for land previously, and we've been kind of looking at the same plots of land for, I think, the last 3 years or so, and it makes sense that once we can get that whole parcel, that we'll be able to build what we both need. They'll be able to have the space that they need, and we'll be able to have a library that we need in that area as well.
And we will also share common areas, like
Yes.
a community room, which will be available to the fire department and the library for use.
And we were both already talking about having a space of similar size that will be able to be used after hours. They were also talking about having a historical room. We were talking about having a historical room. So we'll be able to have that shared space kind of in the middle of the 2 areas and be able to kind of utilize them both together. And it has been done before. It's not been in New England necessarily, but there's been a lot in the South and out West that have worked well. You figure our Ora Mason branch in West Shore is also right next door to the fire department. We've had a good relationship with them for years, so we know that this will work well.
It will also clean up that dilapidated piece of property that's sat that way for the last almost 20 years, and it's been a public eyesore every time you drive by it.
Any other questions? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Ken.
looking at that map, I don't recognize any of those street names. What are some references to the location of property?
You know where the old bowling alley was?
Oh, Fairlands,
Right across the street, directly.
right across, okay, yeah. And now, for the fire department, how many bays you gonna have there? What are you gonna run out of there?
Everything we own will go in there. We're trying to combine the 2 stations into one modern,
Okay, so you're
state-of-the-art.
replacing the 2 fire,
And I think we proposed 4.5 to 5 bays is what it'll be. Probably 4 drive-through and 1 half bay, so to speak.
yeah, good location.
Well, it's on the bus line, which we were both
Yeah.
looking for, it's in a popular area. When we went before, let me go 6-8 months ago to planning and zoning, they really liked the idea of putting a library on the Post Road area and helping to bring the community, you see there's community and neighborhoods behind both sides of Post Road. So that those 2 neighborhoods will be able to easily utilize the library.
Are you running a truck out of Abbott? That's it, that's the only.
Well, all the responding apparatus comes out of Fairfax, which is in the middle of a residential neighborhood, which, but we chose this area because it meets all our parameters for response times. That's why we need to be in that section of Post Road. It will allow us to respond first doing the district and also mutual aid to the rest of the city.
Do you run the sirens after you come out of the base, you don't disturb the library?
Yeah.
We haven't had a problem in West Shore, so I don't.
Luckily, we're not the quiet spaces that people always kind of think about, and us being like we used to be, so.
It used to be a nice scene, seeing the Adams Street climbing up the US 1 hill by the UNH.
Will there be any changes to Route 1 with lights being put in and safety areas?
They don't know that yet, because that comes with the design. So all their traffic studies, the purpose of this $100,000 is to be able to answer those questions. There's design work to do, there's traffic studies, there's land acquisition. This $100,000 gets that going. That's a question you can't answer right now.
Gotcha.
And the site has some challenges, but that's part of what this money's gonna go to, figuring out if it'll work and
And the VIA already owns the 634 Orange Avenue parcel. We did purchase that in June of '22. So we already have a piece of that parcel that we can start cleaning now.
Is there a timeline so far?
Well, there's many things happening at once, and they need money to make that happen. So, acquiring additional land, hiring paid professionals, it starts right here.
clean it up, right?
Yeah, they don't have a project timeline yet.
I mean, I think we both want to see it happen sooner rather than
Well,
later.
of course, yeah, of course.
We'd like to acquire the rest and like clean up what they have and
Yeah. All right, so here's how, I'm sorry, before I go on, anybody else have any questions? Go
Yeah,
ahead, sir.
so have you guys received assurance that you can acquire the land? Or is it the city that owns this land?
Over the past several years, the mayor and Lee Tiernan have promised to foreclose on what's 668 Orange Avenue, but,
That's still in process,
Right.
as far as we're aware.
process and has been promised to both
It's been
groups in
promised
the
to both
past, so
parties
we're,
separately.
I don't know, but from where I came from, they say a promise is a comfort to a fool. So without assurance, it's only a promise.
Well, and I think by the library owning that VIA property already, and us wanting to work with the fire department, we have these two very trusted, strong community resources that want to work together to make that space, to revitalize that space, that this is to me, it's a win-win for the city. We're cleaning up this area that's been basically deserted for 30 years and putting this huge vital resource in that area that's desperately needed. So I would hope that would mean that we'll be able to get through this process fairly quickly to then acquire what we need to then move it forward. We have been looking into the 3 small parcels behind there as well to also make sure to get those as quickly as we possibly can too. But we do need the funding to be able to make sure to get that through as quick as possible.
and as far as our state rep, Doreen DeVore has agreed to contact the state's attorney general in case there are liens because of a prior environmental spill on 668. So we're getting some help as far as that end is to get that piece secure. Yes, and we're also willing to have the VIA attorney rather than the city attorney. We would pay that attorney to handle the foreclosure process. So we're very serious about this. We think this is the best option available right now. So, and we think it's, we're planning for the next 50 years.
So, Roy, to answer your question, there are no guarantees. And it is possible that they could spend $100,000 or more and get nothing for it. And that happens all the time in municipalities, on a state level, on a federal level, and on a private business level. You have to start somewhere, you invest, and sometimes it doesn't work out. That's just the facts of life. So there's no guarantees. Go ahead.
I'm going to be very cautiously optimistic that it's going to
No, you could, but there's nothing's guaranteed. I mean, that's, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
But I
sorry.
feel that we've got more done in the last 7 weeks than we have in the last couple of years. I mean, we've really come together and geared up and,
And the library's already secured a state construction grant as well for the project as well. So we do have backing already from a number of different sources, and we are gonna be doing a capital campaign as well to help raise funds for this. So we're all really looking to try to get this moving as quickly as we can.
I didn't get your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, my name's Colleen Bailey, I'm the library director.
Okay.
All right, so here's how this works. If we approve the use of the money tonight, because it's over 50,000, it still meets MARB's approval. MARB has to approve it. The way MARB approves it is they approve the contract. The contract has to be between the fire department, library, and the design professional. And luckily, our law firm, which happens to be your law firm as well, we've already spent the money to do canned contracts. We have to have a contract in place by this Friday for MARB to view it at their next meeting. If that's not possible, you have to wait a month. The contract has to describe the amount, the services being provided, has to be vetted by our law firm, and I have to have a ethics form attached to it, as well as a federal number, a W-9, and everything else on the checklist. But we can't go to MARB without that, so it starts with the contract. So we could approve this tonight, but it's still not gonna happen till MARB approves it. Now, you can go through the whole contract process, but it's not signed by the mayor until MARB approves it, and MARB could say, we ain't approving it. That's very possible, and that's beyond our hands. It'd be beyond our abilities.
My question would be, would we then go before the MARC and discuss this project as well, or to come to MARC?
You'd have to talk to finance about that. I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah, I think you would have to ask someone in finance to represent you to make that happen. You couldn't just go to MARP yourself, I believe. You couldn't do that.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Does the library department have a money available that they could put in on this?
Well, we've already.
You have a grant, don't you have a grant?
Well, we have the grant, we have not gotten the fund, it's been approved, but we don't have the backing funds yet to get the full amount from the library for the construction grant. I mean, the VIA has already spent some of the money from the endowment for the purchase of the land and for a lot of the legal fees.
We've invested over 300,000 at this point.
So, the gentleman you want to use, the 100,000, Mitchell, is that the name of the company?
Yes.
I believe I was sent documents that proved that that went out to bid, a public bid, okay? So, you need to, we need to gather those documents, we need to talk to Dave's team, and we need to start working on a contract as quickly as possible. I don't know if it's possible to do it by Friday, I really don't, but if not, it'll be the next month. Once that contract's done, MARB approves it, we can provide the funds.
And Ken, just to be clear,
Yeah.
the 100,000 that we're talking about would be of the 1.025 that the council has
Yeah, I explained it earlier before the meeting started.
appropriated
Yeah.
for the fire district.
We don't have, we have $1 million in reserve for the library, but it's below the line. While you're working on that contract, I recommend the library call the chairman of the city council and find out how you can get that $1 million above the line so we can start working on that, on those funds.
Yeah.
We can't touch those funds right now.
Yeah, so while we're working on the contract, we'll work on getting
Yeah,
those funds. as
those are the
well.
next two steps.
And I should just make clear for the record, because this issue came up, the materials refer to one of my colleagues, Stephanie Cummings, at our firm. When we took this engagement as counsel for the ARPA Committee, we made the city aware that our firm previously represented the Village Improvement Association, and we purposely set it up so that there would be no conflict of interest between the two roles. So you understand, our job here, or my job, is not to tell the city council how to spend their money, whether to give you money up or down, or this committee. It's to ensure that things are done properly in accordance with ARPA rules and regulations. So with that understanding, which was made clear up front, more than a year ago when I came on board, and I was in touch with Stephanie Cummings of my firm about that. Just wanted to state that publicly. The task that we're talking about, namely trying to get a contract for $100,000 of the fire district money that's already been approved by the council, certainly wouldn't be a conflict of interest. I think you guys are all in favor of having that go forward, and we can assist with that.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve $100,000 out of the Allentown Fire District's marred bucket of money for design work for a future firehouse.
I make a motion, Iris Stairs.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so now the next step is, we have to get Mitchell to talk to, we have to get you a copy of a pre-approved, ARPA contract, get it over to Mitchell right away, and negotiation goes back and forth. When it's finished, call me, I'll get it before Ricky on the next MAR meeting. That's the deal. All right, so don't have this guy do any work yet, because the
Right.
funds aren't released yet, okay?
We have homework to do.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
And
you.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, let's go back to food bank. Item 4. Quick update, Board of Ed funds fully distributed, and Dave, I think it's safe to say the food recipients all have their contracts?
Yes, they do. As of last Friday, they all have them. I've been in touch with counsel for 2 of them, and been in counsel directly with the Vertical Church, who apparently do not have counsel.
Okay, Johnson Senior Center. The project is well into design. I've been meeting with the architect, I've been meeting with Alyssa over there, the department head, and we are well on our way to having that to go out, ready to go out to bid soon. Stormwater management, we have a total of $3 million. And capital fund for 530 says action required on this one. And that's, did we approve the truck vac, page 135? No, okay, so the city has the truck, it's working fine. The city's been, has been trained on the truck. I personally handled the check to the vendor and got the title in return. Everybody's happy, had council people down there, everybody. We have an invoice for 502,049.98. This has already been paid, but I want every invoice to be broadcast publicly, so I need a motion to approve this.
Made a motion to approve invoice for one truck.
Do you have a second?
I second, Iris.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Pages 135 through 143, you can see pictures of the truck. Everything's right there.
There you go.
All right, next, I've got stormwater matching grant funds for $1 million. I did get a late entry from Abdul for $50,000. I'll save that under new business. Stormwater problem areas, I have no new invoices for tonight. And I got the recycling, it's still in design. Recycling center. Broadband library access, I have an invoice from the West Haven Library for $13,984. That's on page 144 it starts. Page 144. A little tough to see.
Yeah, there's nothing to see here.
Go to page 145, you'll see it. That's part of it right there.
Chromebook?
So these are Chromebooks, guys. And then there's labor to implement the Chromebooks for a total of $13,914.89. Do you have a motion to approve? That's the Navigator program.
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second? Ken, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on. I've got, City Hall windows. So the latest is, we have requested a vinyl window be used to meet the budget. They have some very good vinyl windows today. The exception are the two windows in this conference room. They're too large for vinyl. They will be metal windows. This is well into design. Hoffman Architects is asking for they're asking for $8,289, and that's on page 153. This is part of a contract that was negotiated between the city and Hoffman. Do you have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, Dwight will second that. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Next, we have the fire districts, Allentown, we just went through, we can mark that as completed. We have Center District, I have not heard from recently, but they are looking to remodel the Malloy Station with their $1 million. I'll get back to you as I hear more on that. And West Shore is remodeling both their firehouses for larger, better, safer sleeping quarters, and we're getting bills sent to us for design. Next, I got the boardwalk monitoring camera. That is ready to go out to bid. I was sent the information. I am changing the information to suit the city's needs. Then I'll send it off to Ricky next week, and he'll put it out to bid. Everyone seems pretty happy with that. Painter Park Fieldhouse, I met with the architects finally. They're talking 8 weeks to a design. They can go out to bid. They're looking for a pre-engineered Butler building with a sports field in it for an unconditioned space for kids to use during a lightning storm and for kids to use for practice. So you'll hear more about that in 8 weeks. Next, we have EMS pay. That is strictly on Marb's plate. Nothing there for us at this point. Next, I've got the camera and sound meeting room. So I was instructed by the council with a $200,000 budget to retrofit the 3 meeting rooms with cameras and sound. The idea is that you can go into the room as a committee, hit a button, and it starts broadcasting live. We had 4 people attend the walkthrough, only 1 bid on it. The bid came in $20,000 under budget. That bid is on page 154, and this is going before MARB next week for approval, but I want the committee to approve it first. So do I have a motion to approve the $180,875 for sound in all 3 conference rooms from DNR?
Motion to
So,
approve.
Do you have a second?
no, you said you had 4 people came in and.
Let's go to
I'm sorry.
discussion. Do second first, then we'll go to discussion. Do you have a second?
Okay, sorry.
Who wants to second this?
154.
Anybody? Second? Okay, now discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, I guess my question is, you had 4 people came in and only
Yes.
1 came back with a bid, right? Correct?
Yes, sir.
So, did we actually consider about sending out for a second bid?
We did it twice. The first one, no one bid on it.
No.
This is the second bid. So here's what's happening. We're asking these firms to design and build. That limits the number of firms. We're also finding out that every city and town is doing a similar project, and these firms are overwhelmed. DNR is a company that our IT department is comfortable with. The other 3 firms were too busy. They sent apology letters saying, we're too busy, we can't handle the job. And that's gonna happen more and more as time marches on, and that is the race to spend this money.
Okay.
Okay? Now, from this, what we're getting is really state-of-the-art sound and video systems. These screens are being replaced with very large TVs. A person can come in with their laptop, and over the internet, they can connect to the screens without much trouble. It's just a password.
Okay, so Wi-Fi connection,
Yeah,
basically.
but they also have the option to do a hard connection, which will be located at this table and that podium. Same thing goes for the council, same thing goes for the small conference room on the 3rd floor. We're also doing cameras that when someone speaks, the camera goes to them immediately, and the person watching on YouTube can watch the meeting. And they'll also split the screen, so they'll show the presenter speaking while the council person's speaking. The exception's gonna be this committee. We're gonna maintain the third-party videotaping, because with everything that's going on with COVID funds, I felt it very important that a third party tape our meetings, so we have no ability to turn a tape off or anything like that. But everybody else, the council, the planning and zoning, the inland wetlands, the Board of Ed, the Board of Ed meets the high school, their own videotaping, but anyone who uses these rooms will have the opportunity to hit a button and the meeting will be taped. Okay? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposes, motion carries.
Since this is an estimate, we don't need the formal approval form for this, right? 'Cause we're
Correct,
approving
not
it.
until it's an invoice. Okay, moving on, Ernie, I'll get you back up here in just a minute, I'm gonna blow through some of these real quick. Dean, we have the Housing Grant Fund.
Thank you, sir.
The contract is complete, and we'll be seeing invoices coming to us from, the Columbus House. Haley School, I went to the SCROG list of engineers, I'm contacting Stantec, they'll do the engineering and the design for that ramp. I'll get back to you on that. The West Haven Turf and Field, we are going between two companies, we're going between AstroTurf and Field Turf. We've had meetings with both. AstroTurf will have their final numbers to us on the 8th, and Field Turf has already delivered their final numbers. Next, I've got Savin Rock Playscape and Groundscape. That procurement has been completed, we're waiting for warm weather. I expect they'll do the groundscape and the slide repair relatively soon. Next, I have the Noble Community Center rooftop units, that's in design. Next, I've got the electrical main breakers, that's with the city, I've not heard they put that out to bid yet. Kerrigan Boilers is in design, and we're looking at about 8 weeks out for design. I've instructed the designers to come up with a design that we can pay for to fix one of the boilers. We're probably gonna be in for about 50 grand. The challenge is, we cannot get the equipment before October 15th. The state mandated law to turn heat on in the school. And if we go October 15th with just one boiler, which is already problematic, that boiler breaks down. If the second one doesn't work, we lose the school. So we're gonna spend about 50,000 fixing the second boiler. So 2 boilers are working on the 15th while we're, while we're working on replacing all the pipes in the school. Now, when we replace the pipes, we're not pulling out the old pipes, we're actually going next to those pipes, so it'll go a little bit quicker. And I'll get back to you more on that as we get a design. Any questions on that? Emergency bleacher repair, Veterans Field, I gave them funds to do that, I have not heard if that went out to bid. Now we're down to new business. And I do have some new business that came in late. And I'm gonna start with CDM Smith, page 158. So this is an invoice for $50,000. This is that large study citywide that the $1 million is covering for CDM Smith to give us a master plan to address flooding in the city. You've paid invoices before. They're progressing with their design. This one's for $50,000. It's been approved by Abdul. They have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I don't have an approval form for that one. You want me to get you one tomorrow and we can circulate it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, moving on. We now go to page 161. We're gonna have Ernie come back up. And the first one we have is Wizard Painting. This is an invoice or an estimate? What, an invoice?
These are all invoices, these jobs have been completed, and we're just
Okay.
looking for payment. The first one is, this is for the Shingle Hill Park gazebo. We had to remove the paint from the underside of the roof because it was lead base, and that's what this cost was, of $24.75.
All right, we're gonna do one motion to approve all 4. They're all Wizards, so run down the list. What's the
Okay,
second one?
the second one is the painting priming and 2 coats of paint after the lead was removed. The next one down is Seth Haley, pressure washing, painting, and pressure washing, priming, and painting of the dugouts at Seth Haley. For the,
And there's pictures in your book, guys.
yes, there is. And Morris Park, the same thing, power wash, prime, and paint of the dugouts at Morris Park.
Okay, do you have a motion to approve 4 Wizard Painting Company invoices, one for $24.75, one for $18.75, one for $23.50, one for $23.50, all to come from the Parks Fund?
Motion to.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you.
You're
There
very
are
nice.
no statement over here to sign for those, so just to be aware.
Yeah, we'll get those. Okay.
Okay.
All right, last,
On the approvals, why don't we do it this way? Take a vote authorizing the council to initial the approval forms in accord with the vote in open
is
session.
there any conflict with
here.
Wizard Painting or CDM Smith that would cause you not to vote for them?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. All in favor of the attorney initialing those on our behalf, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good, done. All right, next, we have, one last item. This is the business lease incentive grant funds. Pass that down.
Really putting it to work, you
Don't come here tired, buddy.
know? I'll try not to, but I can't help it.
You got this already?
This one?
Okay,
I just took one.
if you go to your large project report, and you go down to project number 2023015, you'll see aid to small business for $800,000. After carefully navigating what ARPA allows and doesn't allow, what towns and cities across America are doing is they're paying for rent and leases based on the number of years you lease. So, if a company comes in and they lease an empty space for 5 years, they get 5 months rent paid, 7 years, 7 months rent paid. If a company that's at the end of their lease does a new lease, same rules apply, or if they extend their lease. And the idea is that you're making businesses stay here through leases by helping them pay for their leases X amount of months, 1 month per year. I think it caps out at 7 months. So this is the application that we want to send out to the community, and it's been vetted by the attorneys and UHY. These applications will come back, we'll go in executive session, and we will discuss how you want to disperse the money. Do you have a motion to approve the application to be advertised?
Motion to approve?
Do you have a second?
I second. Iris?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The American Rescue Plan Act Business Lease Rental Incentive Grant Program will be advertised. All right. Is there any other new business anyone wants to present? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Do you have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for being here.
Not that bad.
Thank-